The moment my communicator buzzed at 2:14 Galactic Standard Time, I knew something unusual was happening. Calls at odd hours were rare, but this was different. It wasn't a mere mission alert. It was a personal summon. My heart skipped a beat as I saw the sender, the Alien Empress Velyara herself. I had met her once before, during the delegation exchange on Solera 7. She was intimidating, radiant, and utterly unapproachable. Yet, somehow, she had remembered me, not just as a human diplomat, but as a curiosity, perhaps even as someone worth summoning at the dead of night. I activated my starship's cloak and set course for the Empress's palace orbiting the gas giant Thalmor. The journey took only 15 minutes at sublight speed, but those minutes stretched endlessly in my mind. I reviewed my previous interactions with her, the way she tilted her head when I presented my reports, the slight lift of her lip when I correctly identified a planetary anomaly, and the cold, analytical stare that could unnerve even the bravest of alien commanders. By the time I docked at her orbiting palace, my hands were sweating despite the sterile, climate-controlled corridors of my ship. As I stepped onto the polished obsidian floor of the palace docking bay, I was greeted by silence. Not even the usual hum of the grav lifts echoed here. This was deliberate, personal. A voice, smooth and commanding, echoed from the chamber ahead. "Human, you have arrived. Follow." It wasn't a question, and it wasn't an invitation. It was an order. I followed the sound of her voice through the winding corridors, past doors guarded by soldiers whose eyes never blinked. The air smelled faintly of ionized crystals and ozone. Thalmor's signature aroma blended with the subtle perfume she always wore. Finally, I entered a large chamber that seemed impossibly vast for the outside dimensions. The ceiling shimmered with a field of artificial stars, reflecting on the crystalline floor. And there she was, Empress Velyara. Her presence dominated the room. She wasn't seated on a throne, yet she exuded authority that could have moved mountains. "Human," she began, her voice low, almost melodic. "I have summoned you for a reason. Sit." I obeyed instinctively, lowering myself onto a floating chair that hovered above the floor. The room itself seemed to bend around her, as if reality obeyed her will more than physics. "For centuries," she continued, her amber eyes fixed on mine, "my people have prepared for the war that now approaches. But we lack one thing: a human mind. Unique, unpredictable, capable of seeing paths no alien logic can consider." My mind raced. I had been trained for diplomatic missions, not battlefield strategy. Yet the intensity of her gaze made my doubts insignificant. "You," she said, leaning slightly closer, "will lead a covert operation on Zythar Prime. Your objective is simple in words, but impossible in execution. Infiltrate the enemy ranks and secure the artifact before they realize it exists." I swallowed hard. Me? Led an operation for the Empress of Thalmor? My voice sounded small in the vast chamber. Velyara's eyes softened, ever so slightly, enough to notice. "You are more capable than you know. And besides, I summoned you personally because I trust you more than any of my own generals." That statement made my pulse race. Alien generals were legends, disciplined, brilliant, feared throughout the quadrant. For her to trust me, it was unprecedented. I spent the next hour in the chamber receiving detailed briefings. Holomaps projected the terrain of Zythar Prime. Enemy patrol routes, detection grids, energy signatures, and even environmental hazards were displayed in glowing streams of data. I listened, asked questions, and tried to absorb everything. The Empress responded to every query with precision, correcting my assumptions with patience I hadn't anticipated. When the briefing ended, she said quietly, "You may rest here before your departure." I will return shortly. I nodded, and for the first time, the enormity of what I was about to do hit me. I had been summoned personally by the Empress, entrusted with a mission that could determine the fate of millions. Alone in the chamber, I paced, thinking through contingencies. How had I earned this? Why me, a mere human among a civilization of strategic prodigies? But as I looked around the chamber, I realized the answer. She didn't just see me. She observed my decisions, my reactions, my instincts, and she judged them worthy. Hours later, the Empress returned. This time, she did not speak. Instead, she walked slowly toward me, her presence making the air feel heavier. She stopped just a meter away, and for a heartbeat, the room was silent except for the faint hum of the starfield above. "I trust you, human," she said, almost a whisper. "Not because I believe you will succeed, but because I believe you will adapt. And sometimes, adaptation is all that matters." Her words struck me profoundly. I had always believed trust was earned through repetition, proof, and success. But she trusted instinctively, not because of guarantees, but because of understanding. "Thank you, Empress," I said, my voice barely audible. She inclined her head slightly.
"Go now.
Your journey awaits, and the galaxy does not pause for hesitation." I left the chamber with a mixture of awe and terror. My ship waited, engines humming softly, ready to leap into the void. As I launched toward Zythar Prime, I couldn't help but glance back at the palace. Through the viewing port, I saw her standing there, watching me. Alone, calm, commanding. And for the first time, I sensed a faint approval. The mission on Zythar Prime was more perilous than I could have imagined. Enemy drones, alien sentries, and environmental hazards tested every skill I had. Yet, in each moment, I felt her presence, not physically, but as a guiding awareness. It was as though her confidence in me had become a shield, invisible but unyielding. After hours of calculated risk, improvisation, and sheer luck, I secured the artifact. The final moments were chaotic. Alarms blared, security grids flared, and every step felt like it could be my last. Yet somehow, I made it back to my ship. As I set course for Thalmor, I couldn't stop thinking about the Empress. She had summoned me personally, placed an impossible task in my hands, and yet, she had made me feel capable. More than capable, empowered. When I returned, the Empress awaited me in the same chamber. Her eyes gleamed as I approached. "You have returned," she said simply. I nodded, holding out the artifact. "The mission is complete." She took it, her fingers brushing mine briefly. That contact sent an unexpected shiver through me. "Indeed," she replied. "And in doing so, you have proven more than skill. You have proven understanding, courage, and adaptability." For a moment, neither of us spoke. I realized that the weight of trust had passed between us, not just hers and me, but mine and her leadership, her vision, her ability to inspire even a human stranger. "Human," she said finally, a rare smile flickering across her face. "You may leave the palace. But know this, you will always have a place here. And when the galaxy calls again, I will summon you. And you will answer." As I stepped away, leaving the grand chamber behind, I knew that nothing in my life would ever be the same. I had been summoned by an alien empress, entrusted with the impossible, and returned triumphant. Not by luck, but because she had seen something in me that I had never seen in myself.